Well, the media has lied so often, it's just become second nature to them. And they're, I don't know. See, I thought about this the other day. Are the people in the media really that unaware or ignorant, or is there so much peer pressure in the media that they just go right along with it without even thinking twice about it because they feel like if they try to buck the system, then they're going to come after them. And I've got some stuff to talk about that here a little bit later. But I do find it interesting. You mentioned all the fencing and everything around the White House and everything. It's funny how a wall will work in that case, but no. If you put one on the border, that's not going to work at all.
Right. And look at that, John, too. You look at the border wall that they don't want, and yet they'll fortress themselves in. You look at COVID and how they've got us all locked down and masked and vaccinated, and yet the border's wide open with people coming across with COVID.
Yes.
They're not even testing them, and they're busing them all over the country with disease. I mean, what? You tell me how this makes any sense. It makes no sense. And here's the other thing, the voting law in Georgia. You can't, it's Jim Crow. They're keeping you from voting. They're stopping you from voting, which was about as far from the truth as anything you could get. I mean, this stuff just doesn't make any sense.
Right. And there was the thing with the voter ID and suppressing the black vote, they've been crying that since the 2000 election, maybe even before that. So but they can use the same template because people keep buying it every time. People don't have I think that's one of the most frustrating things for me is that people don't remember that they've used this time and time again. But people like you and me do, and we can see it. And it's frustrating sometimes. I'm not being critical of people that don't remember, but with freedom comes some responsibility, and people need to not believe everything they hear in the media and just check it out for themselves. When a major event happens and the media is reporting on it, give it at least 72 hours before you make any kind of decision on whether what the media is telling you is true, because the truth takes a while to catch up with it. What was the old phrase that a lie can circle around the globe 5 times while the truth is still getting its pants on?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's so ridiculous because if you take a step back and you look at, of course, Biden and everybody comes out and then they caused the corporations and they pulled out the All-Star game out of Georgia and they're racist and you're this and you're that. And it's like you would think that the only people who voted in Georgia were black, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Because the voting bill affects all voters. But yet, you would never, if you listen to these people, there's only certain areas that are going to be affected by this law.
Right.
And only certain minorities, that are going to be affected by this. And it's ridiculous. The thing that is so insulting, that I think is so insulting to people, which they're now waking up to, is the fact that they're treating minorities as though they can't do anything. They can't make any decision. They can't get to the polls. They can't get an ID. It's too hard for them to do this. I mean, how insulting is that?
Very, and I've thought that for a long time. The other day, there was an article about the voting laws in Delaware and New York, and lo and behold, both of them had stricter voting rights than the new one in Georgia. So does that mean that Biden's home state has Jim Crow voting laws?
Yeah.
So,
and the same thing goes for Denver, where they moved the All-Star game to. It's way tougher to vote in Denver than it is in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, what the heck? They're just doing this. And they're really overplaying their hand. They are. Because now people are, I think this actually was the tipping point where people are just going, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And then all of the businesses, all of the corporations just immediately jump on board, don't even read the law, don't even know what's in the law, and yet come out against it. What business is it of theirs in the first place to make policy for the states? I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's so sad to me because having been a sports fan all my life, and particularly more football, I used to watch baseball when I was younger. I've never really followed baseball since the strike in 1996, I believe it was. They just so angered me about that. But
yeah.
The NFL, too, they're all becoming politicized, and it's a shame because that's the one place I go where I don't want to have to worry about politics. I just want to see a good game. I don't want to see people kneeling on the sideline, and I don't want to see people, like you said, sports organizations trying to force their views on states or people. That's not what you're there for.
It's not what they're there for. And the other thing that is so hypocritical is the fact that they're doing deals. You know, they're so self-righteous and saying, oh, well, people can't vote, and people are being denied this and denied that, and being, persecuted. Really? They're making billion-dollar deals with China, who literally have people in concentration camps and torture them. And, this is just ridiculous. This is the hypocrisy of these people. Do you see them giving up their billions of dollars and pulling baseball and basketball and Nike out of China, or Apple stop making iPhones in China? No, you don't. That's why I think China has a bigger hand in this than anybody even knows. I think they put the pressure on all these people and say, you better say what we want you to say, or we're not going to deal with you.
Yeah, and they're handing them a lot of money, too. That's why I have absolutely zero respect for LeBron James. He is so deep in bed with the Chinese government, involved with the NBA, and he gets all these endorsements and everything else from all these different brands that are made in China. So, I don't listen to what he says. He's not even relevant.
No, and none of these companies are relevant to me anymore, and it makes me sad because I look at the list of all these people that jumped on board and condemned this voting. You know something? This is literally making it easier for people to vote. This is voting laws. This is showing ID. This is doing it legitimately. And if these businesses come out against people doing things legitimately and legally and fairly, I have no use for them. And I look at this list of businesses and I think, how many of these do I do business with? Where am I going to go now? I can't even fly on an airline anymore because practically every one of them is on board with the far left.
Right. Oh, and on the other hand, too, this voter ID law, it's making it easier for people to vote, but it's at the same time, it's making it harder for Democrats to cheat. So that's the real issue here.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's probably what they're mad at.
Yes.